Hey everybody, welcome to Cruise Ship Explorers. We have an amazing episode for you this week. We actually have a celebrity entertainer. He is one of the members of a tribute band called Doobie Others, and they do a tribute to the Doobie Brothers. They're amazing. And Rachel, what ship were they on?
The Celebrity Summit, and this is a Millennium class ship.
Yeah, so they've been selected to go out again in 2025. So we're super excited to get some talking going with them. What do you say, Rachel? But before we do, let's tell everybody, if they like the content here, to subscribe and like to our channel. We really appreciate it. We're going to be releasing a new episode each week. We're super excited about this series. And why don't we get into the interview, Rachel?
Sounds great.
Let's go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Cruise Ship Explorers. We have an amazing guest from the Doobie Others band. They're a Doobie Brothers tribute band. Been around for a while, and they're just amazing. I've checked all their stuff out, and I'm excited to chat with them. Rachel, who do we have?
We have Pat Montefusco on. Yes, guitar player, singer, and been on a couple tribute cruises. So we got to learn more about this.
Yeah, so Pat,
I'm including
welcome to the show.
future cruises in my number. I'm including future ones, just so you know.
So Pat, yes. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Good morning. If you're on the Eastern time zone anyway, good morning.
Yeah. We actually are. From what I know, you have been playing for quite some time. And am I correct in that, or did you just start today?
Yeah, I'm a quick learner. About 8 o'clock in the morning, I picked up the guitar. So,
right.
Personally playing,
tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll talk about the band.
I'm in my mid-60s, which is a conservative way of saying my age. And, I started playing when I was, 12, 13. So do the math. I've been playing for a long time. In fact, I always think, geez, I should be a hell of a lot better for the length of time I've been playing. But, it is what it is.
Believe me, we all say that as musicians, right? You go and see somebody, you're like, wait, how come I'm not that good? I've been playing just as long.
I see these YouTube sensations. They've been playing these kids, 11-year-old kids that are shredding. And I'm like, oh, my God, I just feel like burning my guitars when I see that,
I tell Rachel the same thing when I see these drummers. I'm a drummer. So when I see these drummers, I'm just like, all right, there's no way I can go back to the shedding all that stuff and be as good as him. So I'm just going to say amazing job at 11.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. These 10-year-old kids playing Rush, on YouTube. It's incredible.
It's crazy. Yeah. But you guys have a good band, so that's all we're concerned about. So tell us a little bit, how did you get the Doobie Others started? Because putting together a tribute band is tough, and then putting together a good tribute band is even tougher. So I'd like to know a little bit about the history of the band and how it all came about.
We were a 5-piece cover band, actually a 3-piece cover band. Then we added keys and we added a saxophone. We called ourselves X Session. We're all from Long Island, which most of us still are. And
awesome.
We were playing covers, and kind of about the mid-teens, 20 teens, it was getting harder and harder to get work because everybody was tribute bands. And at first we railed against it the way a lot of people still do.
Of course,
come on, this is bull, this tribute thing. But then we thought, if you can't lick them, join them. And then it was like, well, who's it going to be? And I've always loved the Doobie Brothers. And no one else was doing it, at least in our area. And so I spoke to the.
And let me point out that it's really tough to do it. So I want the audience to know it's not like you just can put a Doobie Brothers band together. It's tough to do it because their vocals are amazing, and the instrumentation.
I knew I could sing the Tom Johnston parts. I also knew I couldn't sing the Michael McDonald songs. I don't have
right.
So these were all factors, but we said, well, let's play around with it. Maybe we could find a guy, that can sing Michael McDonald. So the 5 of us, and by the way, I do play guitar, as you mentioned.
Yes,
I'm more of a rhythm guitar player. I can play some leads, but I'm not a lead guitar player. I wouldn't consider myself that. I'm more of a singer guitarist, as opposed to the other way around. So we needed a real lead guitar player. And, there's contacts here. There's a whole network on Long Island, So we found a guy named Ron Lavisa, and we asked him to join. And he's been wonderful as a lead guitar player. And then, we auditioned a few singers. and it really wasn't happening. You know, that Michael McDonald is not easy. And if you're going to do a tribute, you got to sound like Michael McDonald. And, you know, guys would either try to,
you have to.
They would try to make his, you know, imitate his voice. We're not looking for an impressionist here. You know, this is so through our keyboard player, Alan Hornstein's contacts, he knew a fellow named Joe Torres, and he reached out to him, and Joe came down and he auditioned, if you want to call it that, with us. And from the first minute, we were like, okay, this is the guy.
He's the
guy.
Now
we got a band.
Yep.
You know, and it just kind of took off from there. And, you know, we went into a studio.
So I would imagine when he comes down, you're like, all right, you got to sing What a Fool Believes. All right, you got to sing Minute by Minute. Let's go.
He nailed it. He nailed Fool Believes, which is certainly a litmus test, I guess, for Michael McDonald, singer. And, you know, we just went into a studio. We did some video demos, which are still on YouTube. And that was like 2016, 2017. I look at them now and I think, good gosh, we're so much better now. Because, you know, we've been playing. Right. You know how it is when you're when you're out there, especially when you're on the road, as much as, you know, we do travel a bit. You know, you get a lot tighter as you play more. But, you know, they are representative. Of us, and we're, you know, 7 years younger, and that doesn't hurt in those videos. So, you know, my beard was a little darker, but yeah, so we did that, and then we started spreading them around a little bit. There was a local agent that we used here that got us some work, Florida, you know, Connecticut, New Jersey, you know, those are commuter gigs, and then a few flight gigs, and then it just kind of, you know, snowballed.
Yeah, like, because it's totally different. You were playing all these gigs, traveling for these gigs. Whose idea was it? Like, let's do this on a cruise ship. Was there your agent or an agent that saw you guys and were like, we have this themed cruise, you guys would be perfect? Or did you have to chase it?
We didn't.
And
not at all. We have an agent that we work with, mostly Sharon Klein. Give her a little plug, Sharon Klein Productions.
There you go, Sharon Klein. Hello.
But anyway, yeah, she apparently somehow, you know, came to her desk, and then she turned to us, and also another one of her bands, which is Creedence Clearwater Revived.
Oh, awesome! And, that's great.
Both bands went on 70s rock and romance cruise.
Okay, yes,
which was
Celebrity,
in March.
right?
And you know, and obviously this was last year when the offer came, and we were like, hell yeah, you know, we couldn't bring our spouses because it was already booked, which was a bit of a drag.
Of course.
But, you know, still we get to go. I you know, something, I've never been on a cruise. I've been to, you know, all-inclusives here and there, but I've never had the experience of being on a cruise. So it was great for me.
Yeah, it's like, you know, that's a big thing. A question that we usually like to find out is the difference for a performer performing on a cruise ship versus on land, because especially yourself not being on a cruise, honestly, you know, I don't know whether you felt any kind of rocking or anything like that. You know, some performers we speak to, they say they definitely feel it, but, you know, every cruise is different. So you're getting different weather. But how about yourself? Like the performance on the stage did you feel anything?
Very windy. You know, we performed, and, you know, we only did 2 1-hour sets. There are so many performers on this cruise that there's only, you know, so we were on the ship from Sunday morning till Thursday morning, and we played Monday night at 11 o'clock and Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock on the same stage. Most of the, you know, the major acts played in the theater. Randy Bob played the theater. Jason Sheff, you know, that band, the Generation Radio, I believe they're called. They played in the theater.
Yes, yeah.
But we played the poolside, and, you know, Bad Company, the guy from Bad Company played there, and Orleans, who, by the way, were incredible, played on the pool
Another
deck.
band.
And that's where we played, and it was windy, no doubt.
Windy. And how about like the back line, the equipment, as compared to your road gigs? How was the equipment?
Fine.
Was it
was all
up
good?
To your...
You know, we have an equipment rider, which we're used to using from all of the road gigs that we fly to and stuff. So, the gear was all great. And even I didn't, you know, we had to fly to Aruba and get on the ship on. So we flew in on Saturday to Aruba, stayed at a nice hotel. I forget which one, whatever. And we boarded the ship Sunday morning. So I was nervous about bringing my guitar. I use a Line 6 Line 6 plug. Variax.
Yeah,
I
there
use
we
a
go.
Variax guitar because it allows me to change tunings and change guitar models, for that matter, to an acoustic from an electric and everything. Anyway, they don't really make them anymore. It's a rare guitar now. So I was nervous about putting it on the plane, so I rented an electric guitar and an acoustic guitar that I would switch over to. And it's all top-notch stuff. I had a Martin acoustic. I had a Fender Stratocaster. You know, they give you the gear is top-notch. The drum kit was top.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I guess because they have headliners, that are national acts, they want everything top notch. They don't want any problems, so they're going to make sure they probably bring good engineers.
I mean, the Creedence guys brought their own guitars, for instance, and I was talking to them about it. And the next time, I may bring the Variax, gate check it, all the little tips that I got from them about bringing gear. Most of the travel gigs that we do, our bass player Eddie, our sound man Steve, and sometimes me, drive to most of the gigs to Florida. We'll drive down over 2 days.
Wow, that's a nice drive from you guys, from New York to Florida.
Yeah, I mean, we played, for instance, we played a gig in the Villages on early June this month. Well, yeah, still June this month, and we drive down. We left on Monday morning. We stayed over Monday night, and then finished the ride on Tuesday, played the gig on Wednesday, and then did the same thing coming home. But it allows us to bring our own backline.
It's true, because I've heard horror stories of musicians and, they've even photographed their instrument crushed or broken. And oftentimes these are, it's really expensive. And there goes, like, who cares about the gig now? Now you have something expensive that you have to try and replace. Sometimes irreplaceable.
That's what I mean about the guitar that I use. I'd almost consider, I have two of them. I do, but I don't want to take a chance on having either one of them damaged. I bring them both to gigs in case I bust a string or something in the middle of a set.
It's so true. And even stuff like you said, Line 6, there's another plug for them. But, you probably have like all your presets and stuff like that, which you're used to, which for our audience, it makes their sound and it's, pre-done. So, I mean, stuff like that is really important. And, we talked to the different players from that go on these ships, and they're really concerned about, hey, are they going to have the stuff we need? What about the amps and stuff like that?
They were all, Fender amps and, everything was great. I know Alan, the keyboard player, had his presets on an SD card, and he requested a certain kind of keyboard, and he plugged it into the one that they provided, and bam, it was all right there for him. It was perfect.
That's beautiful. Well, you got to love technology, right?
Yeah, it was great.
It's, it's amazing. On these cruise ships, which is, something new for the band, do you have any like memorable, moments from your experience on it? Because we've heard all kinds of stories, whether, it could be both sides of the coin. You're meeting a national celebrity or you're meeting fans that you didn't even know were there.
Well, yeah, we did make a lot of friends. We met Steve Ferroni, the drummer for, who was Generation Radio's drummer, but of course he was in Tom Petty's band.
Yeah.
And really wonderful guy. Very nice man. Actually, one of the guys, Eddie, still a bass player, stayed in touch with him. They were texting each other or whatever,
Right. You make new friends.
Made some friendships and I don't want to say fans. I don't even like to use the term because it makes us seem like we're here and other people.
Not going to take it away. I watched you guys.
We made a lot of friends on the ship. And as far as memorable, one thing that they did on this cruise, which was nice, was that they gave us all the artists tribute or the real ones, whatever you call them, a separate dining area. So dinner was sort of off limits, I guess you could say, to the general, the guests, which gives you a chance. They don't want, and listen, they're not going to come to us, but they're going to come to Randy Bachman and talk to him while he's eating dinner. And, so there was that element of privacy while you're eating. But since we were all part of that, now we could bother them.
Of course, you could go and be
exclusive bothering rights.
You have to be careful, not to, but seriously, it was kind of nice that we had that little cocoon.
Yeah, no, I would imagine it's the opposite as well. So I would imagine you're allowed to go hang out at the bars with the regular cruisers and mingle and do whatever you might do. And And therefore, you get to really, talk to a different fan base, because I would imagine this type of theme cruise brings people from around the world.
Yeah.
The
most common language was English, but I guess, there are people from around the world. And we could be, we're, like I said, I'd never been on a cruise. I didn't, I got paid to be on this cruise, not paying to be on the cruise. That was nice. I know after our Monday night, 11 p.m., 1 hour set, there was minimal breakdown because the crew was incredible. Every stage had a crew,
right?
So you didn't really have to do much. Put the rented guitar in the case, and I was like, okay, I'll see you, in 2 days for our next set. And then, down at the disco and have a martini or something and dance a bit or do whatever. Just enjoy the whole atmosphere.
And what did you think being a first-time cruiser? So there's a lot of people that watch our series or are online to our website, and they're first-time cruisers. You being a first-time cruiser and a musician that played on a themed cruise, what was your experience like? What was the accommodations like? What were obviously you had private dining.
They didn't give us, I did have a window. I had an outside stateroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Of course, it was double occupancy. I shared with our bass player. We all had, actually, because there's 7 of us, they gave us 4 rooms, and the sax player was the lucky winner. He got to
he got the solo room.
He got to not have to.
But you put this all together. You should get the single
there's
room.
a reason. We owe him. He does a lot of background work for us to book it.
All right.
So,
okay.
If we could give him that perk, it's deserved on his part. And it was the stateroom was basic, but it was fine. Like I said, we had a window, which was nice. Unless you're seasick, of course, which none of us had a problem with, by the way. I wondered about that. I even brought, Dramamine with me, just in case, God forbid I got to play and I'm, having a bout of seasickness. But
and was I just, while this is in my brain, was this your other bandmates? Was this their first time on a cruise?
I believe a couple of the guys have been on cruises, as guests. Certainly, it was the first time playing on a cruise for any of us. But they knew somewhat what a cruise is like. Excuse me, and I would certainly do it again. Even as a guest, certainly do it again as a performer. But even just to go on a cruise, it's an interesting concept, especially if you're going to go. What do they call it? An excursion, which we didn't do, but. And actually, our bass player Eddie has relatives in Curacao. The ship docked at Curacao. Monday, and he off board, whatever the hell the word is. He got off the boat and he went and hooked up with some cousins that he hadn't seen, some he had never met at all, that were I believe on his father's side. They're from Curacao, and he had cousins there, and it was like a big family reunion. And then that was Monday afternoon. He came back onto the boat and played the gig Monday night, the set. Monday night.
That's the beauty that a lot of cruisers find about the cruise experience, is that you get to see a lot of different places in a short period of time.
You're not just on the boat
which you just
the whole
wouldn't,
time unless you want to be.
Unless you want to be, which a lot of people do that. But the other side of it is you get to visit a lot of places in a small amount of time that you couldn't do if you were you'd have to fly to them, and then it's very time consuming. This, you get to see different ports, places, and it's just a different experience. When you came to do your 2 sets, now did you have to prepare 2 different style sets than you would normally do on your shows on land, or you just went for it and played the hits?
Well, it was a 70s cruise, and a couple of our songs are from the early 90s. The Doobies, they were still recording. Obviously, the 70s was all the hits, but we kept everything in that decade. And I remember asking the fellas from Orleans, because they played also 2 sets, and what they played? They played Sunday night and Tuesday afternoon. We played Monday night and Wednesday afternoon. And I remember asking them after their Sunday night show, which was, by the way, incredible, if they're going to do the same set. And they said, yeah, because there's so much going on. There are so many options. While you're playing on the pool deck, there's a show going on in the theater. There's another thing down in the lounge, so it's a different audience the second time around. unless they want to see you again from the first show, in which case they're going to be happy to hear the same stuff they heard the first show because they liked it.
Listen, sometimes they do that. You never know. Like, listen, if you're there to see your favorite band, you're going to stay and go check them out all over the place. Now, you might hear the same songs, but still you're getting to see them. Did you get time to engage to your fans? Now, by that, I mean, like, was there any kind of meet and greet set up? Was there any kind of place they gave you? I don't know whether you sell merchandise or any of that stuff.
I mean, you're at breakfast, people are coming up and, I mean, walking in the hallway or whatever, it was kind of like that. Like I said, the whole thing was a meet and greet. That's the whole concept.
Right. It is. Yeah. I didn't know whether they set, even for the national acts, like a table whether you can do a meet and greet or anything like that. I
mean, they had interview sessions, almost like a talk show portion. Like Don McLean did one. He was on the boat. Randy Bachman did one. And I believe there was some merch being sold, on the way out. And I guess he was there and he would autograph it and stuff. I have to say, I didn't really, partake as a fan, if you will.
Sure.
So I think I saw something set up, but, again, I didn't, hang around. Dave Mason was also on the ship, by the way. And
wow.
Dave was pretty much, I have to say, kind of kept to himself. He didn't. Okay. Some guys engage more than others, put it that way.
Of course.
Naturally,
his show that he put on in the theater with his band was beyond. I saw that. I went. And by the way, we could obviously attend these things. They just asked us to wait till everybody, the guests, so to speak, were seated. Make sure everybody had a seat.
Right.
And then if there were any extra seats, we could take it, or we could just stand in the back in the theater. But
sure.
Dave was.
Did you get to see a lot of people?
Yeah,
pretty much. I know you said you saw Orleans.
I saw Dave Mason. We saw the Generation Radio Band with Jason Sheff and the guy from Rascal Flatts, and I apologize because his name escapes me. And Steve Ferroni was playing drums in that band, and Randy Bachman's band, which his son was there, Tal Bachman.
Jason Sheff. Speaking of him, he's just amazing. He's we were fortunate enough. I believe Jason played with Chicago for a little bit.
Sure, he replaced Peter Cetera, basically.
Exactly, right. And he was great. We had the chance to see him.
The great range, which if you're going to replace Cetera, you obviously need that.
Of course. Still got it. Yeah. But yeah, those guys are great. And, for me, you always wonder like the energy of these type of cruises because you're all... you're condensed with the bands, the music, the stars, and then the cruisers.
The people purchasing tickets to these cruises, that's like a target audience. They want to see that type of stuff. They know who's
on the cruise. So if they're purchasing tickets there, you already got half the battle won right there. They want to see you. And I don't mean so much, so much us, we're like I'm talking about the headliners, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
The first half, because there were two halves to the cruise. They actually had a whole different set of musicians and bands in the first half of the cruise. They took off from Miami like on a Wednesday or Tuesday, and they're the ones that sailed to Aruba, and that's when the musicians switched on Sunday. They got off.
Oh wow! Okay.
So I mean, the band War was early part. There was a Queen tribute that I saw a video of. Again, I wasn't on the boat for the first half, but I saw a video tribute, and it was like I felt like I was watching Queen.
Right.
And there's another Foreigner. Foreigner was on.
Okay.
On the first half. So and obviously the second half of the musicians, it's the whole week for the the paying customers, so to speak. So they get a whole lineup. They could plan that.
That's amazing.
They jam pack. They jam pack you guys in, and
you like that era, the 70s, and you like that music, you're in heaven for a week. Plus all the other cruise amenities that any cruise has. Lying next to the pool and so forth, which I did on Tuesday, by the way, because I was off. It was our day off.
It seems like this particular cruise, the 70s cruise, is really taking off. Where I've seen they already have the lineup. I think the lineup is announced for next year.
I'm not sure.
Correct?
I don't know if we're doing it next year or not. Obviously, we're waiting by the phone. But I think what they'll do is they fill in with the major acts.
Right.
And then they'll kind of fill in. And I noticed that a lot of places, not just the cruise, but even theaters that we play at, there's usually a 2-year rotation. They don't bring you back every year. They try to, so you get like a year off and then you play again at the same theater. I think the cruise is somewhat like that as far as bands like us.
Like circling back to the atmosphere, did you get to see any crazy stuff? There's always these crazy stories on a cruise, either people drinking too much or people fanning over.
That was me. No, only getting it.
No, and speaking of which, did the cruise, when you got on, were there any ground rules that they went over with the band? Were there any like drills, like a emergency drill that you guys had to kind of learn? Or was it more like a regular gig where you got your equipment, here's your start time, be there on time, play your set? Obviously. Because I imagine they don't want even the musicians getting a little too out of control. So I don't know if there was even an unspoken type of understanding.
Bands that were big in the 70s, and let's face it, a lot of these bands are not the original members, as we all know.
Of course, yeah.
But generally speaking, these bands, I should say us bands, we're a little bit older now. So the wild aspect is, I once heard Tom Johnston, the lead singer for the Doobie Brothers, saying, it used to be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Now it's rock and roll. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's crazy anymore. Everyone's, kind of mellowed out a little bit as you get a little older and a little, more mature. So there was no real, at least not that I experienced, and God knows it was a big ship, so maybe there was something going on that I didn't know about.
You missed it.
Maybe I missed it. Damn, maybe next time. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. You get to hear like different stories, but every, like you said, and we've spoken to quite a few people that do theme cruises, everybody from actors to chefs to rock cruises to even like 90s or 2000 bands the Green Day stuff and all. So you're getting an age demographic that's completely different from every other.
Absolutely.
So there's all kinds of crazy stories. So I totally get that. But we love 70s music, so we love hearing and speaking to people like yourself because we just love that style of music.
Right after our cruise, after the ship docked, immediately was going to go back out to sea as the Flower Power cruise. And that was the 60s cruise. And I'm not even sure the lineup, but I know one of the bands that was on our part of the cruise was the Cowsills, which are basically a 60s band. But they did both. They stayed on, and of course, Flower Power, that's their thing. And, a lot of the bands, too, you might be thinking, well, Firefall, for instance, was on the set.
Sure.
Orleans. You think, well, I know, 3 or 4 Orleans songs, or I know 3 or 4 Firefall songs, but, what's the rest of it going to be? And they didn't really go deeply into the catalog. They would do some covers. I remember Firefall did Long Train Running, and I was like, geez, we're doing that.
Wow.
That kind of
But, wow, that's pretty cool. And that's actually unique to see those bands do that because number one, I'm sure the bands are great.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Very talented.
they can pretty much handle everything. I'm curious, how long do they allow the sets to be?
It's generally an hour. I don't know about the theater shows. I think they go a little longer. In fact, I think those are 90 minutes because there would be like a show at like 6 p.m. and a show at 8 p.m. Different bands, each night. Might be Dave Mason at 6 and Generation Radio at 8, and the next day it's Generation Radio at 6 and Dave Mason at 8. And what happens is they play 90 minutes, and then it's a half an hour to switch over, and the crew would come out, switch everything over, and then the second show would resume. And then at 10 o'clock, everybody goes to the disco and gets drunk. So
I'm curious, did they do any kind of like all-star jam where all the bands jam together or anything like that?
I think there might have been, but they excluded me purposely. No, I'm only kidding.
They're like, he's one of the Doobie guys. Don't include him. Yeah.
Playing that weird line 6 guitar.
You think you have all these musicians, you would get together for a big jam.
They should do that. You should suggest that.
I'm going to have to talk to them about that. Rachel, make a note.
I don't recall that happening. And you would think that would be a natural, like the way they have at the Hall of Fame induction and so forth. But no, everybody was, did their set.
And when you engage with some of the people that were cruisers, did they give you any insight? Is this their first theme cruise?
Have they been
a few people.
Some people were first timers. And they loved it. They said they're going to come, we'll be back. We hope you're back. And I'm like, yeah, me too.
Yeah. Did you get to see some New Yorkers there?
Yeah. In fact, I told you we played the Villages early in June, this past a few weeks ago. And we did a meet and greet there, which we usually do at these things. And a few people came up and said, yeah, we saw you on the 70s cruise, and when we saw you were here, we came to the show to see it, you know what I mean? Which was really,
that's fantastic.
For somebody in my position, I'm the farthest thing from a rock star that could be. I live in the suburbs. I even have a day job, for instance, which most of it.
Right.
And for someone like me to hear that, it's like, I don't know what to say because I'm stunned. Still to this day,
it's mind blowing.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, I don't know how to say thank you enough to people like that.
No, I get it. We went to see, I'll give you a story. We went to see a friend of ours plays in probably the biggest Neil Young tribute band, right?
I love Neil Young.
And he sells out all these theaters and just like crazy stuff. So we went to him at one of his performances, and then we just see people waiting in line just to talk to him.
Sure.
Because, they think he's Neil Young.
Right.
And I'm mind blown. He's a friend of mine. That's not Neil Young. That's my friend Joe, you know? But the fans love it, and the sound that he does is just so true to Neil Young. So I can see why people
just want to they want to thank you for whatever the production that you're doing. We've gotten, and every once in a while I hear a little bit of flack about tribute bands, the whole genre of tribute. But the way I look at it, I remember when we first started doing this, it was because we were frustrated because everything was tribute bands. But the way I look at it, like you go to a show or a club or whatever, and you're going to see, some band, cover band, you don't know what you're going to hear. You're probably going to hear classic, the Beatles, the Stones, maybe some blues and stuff like that, but you don't really know. But when you go to see a tribute band, you either go or you don't go based on knowing what you're going to see.
Correct.
People came out to the 11 o'clock Monday night set. I mean, I thought, I said, wow, nobody's going to be there. It's 11 o'clock at night. The place was packed, and obviously everybody there. I mean, some of them are just, let's go check out this band. Doobie Brothers, I think I know a few songs, a few people maybe in that, but most of the people knew our stuff.
Yeah.
And, the enthusiasm that comes back at you from a crowd like that. Again, I wish I could thank every one of them individually. I mean, I can't tell you how much.
Of course.
Not just me, all the guys,
And honestly, the really cool thing about tribute bands, and we love to go see a good tribute band, especially one that has studied the music, emulates the sounds, is a lot of 70s bands are still out there. They're touring. Right. Some of them are touring a lot. But
Doobie Brothers,
not all
right?
of them. Yeah. Not all of them. There are bands that people love, and they either aren't touring enough or they don't come to their town, and you want to hear that music live. A really rockin' tribute band is such a great way to experience the music live. And it's awesome.
Exactly. I mean, a band like Queen, a good Queen tribute band, you're not. Freddie Mercury, unfortunately, you're not going to see him. So you see a guy that wears, a mustache and. He has the half mic stand and he's doing the whole thing. And it kind of brings you back to when it was Queen. It's a tribute, literally. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
We could call them homage bands or whatever, but the word tribute stuck. But that's what it is. Doobie Brothers, on the other hand, are still vital, touring, recording. In fact, we sometimes have to look at their touring schedule and make sure we're not competing, and obviously tickets to see the Doobie Others are not quite as dear as tickets to see the Doobie Brothers.
Right, sure. I tell
myself that. So, look, you can hear the music, and in my own humble opinion, I think we do it pretty damn good,
Right, you do. I mean, I've watched the videos, and for me, being able, like you said, Johnson, McDonald, it's like, you got some amazing singers, and you said a couple of hits, but the Doobie Brothers, they have a gazillion hits. You could keep going all day long.
Major hits that everybody knows, and some lesser hits that the fans know. I always point out "Another Park, Another Sunday" is a song from the Vices album, What Were Once Vices Are Now Habits.
Sure.
Title. From like 1974, I believe it came out. And it was, I remember when it came out, it was a radio hit, top 25, it didn't really get into the top 10, but, on FM radio back then, you'd hear it. And I loved that song. I was 15, but I was like, wow, this is such a cool song. I love this song. So here, 40 years later, I'm playing the song and a lot of people know it. Some don't. Some hearing it for the first time and now they love it, and I always think, geez, the Doobie Brothers, I mean, Don Henley, sorry, Don, but Don Henley is very aggressive against tribute bands, Eagles tribute band.
Yes.
I even, because I do some solo stuff and me and the bass player, Eddie, we do duo stuff, and we had a few videos up on YouTube of us playing, and Hotel California and Take It to the Limit, which were the two we had, were taken down. I got a notification from YouTube saying we had to take it down because of copyright infringement. I'm like, there's Don,
he's got his people out there watching everything.
We have never caught any, I've never had anything. It's not like the Doobie Brothers reached out to us and said, hey, thanks. I don't expect that. But they allow us to do what we do. And I'd like to think that part of the reason is that, people hear the songs and they say, maybe I'll go download that album. I used to say, buy that album.
Listen,
download that album.
And it keeps their catalog going.
It keeps their catalog going and maybe turns on some new people, even young people. And we do get some people, in the meet and greet, I'll say, my God, how do you know the songs? You can't be more than 30 years old. And they'll say, my parents used to play it when I was growing up and now I love it. And, and that, obviously makes you feel very good to know that stuff is still vital.
No, that's so true. It's like, and creating a set list for you guys, I don't know how often you change it, but there's so much to select from. And, I don't know if that's a whole voting process in the band.
We have about 40 songs to work off of. Some are pretty obscure. We're playing in, and here comes a shameless plug, but we're playing in Annapolis.
Tell us about that show.
I don't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry, but it'll be our third year playing at a club called Ram's Head in Annapolis. Great club, a restaurant next door, it's like one of these places you go out, you have dinner, you go see a show. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you're from New York City, but it's sort of like the Bottom Line kind of a place.
Of course.
And it's our third year in a row, and I was just talking to one of the guys and saying, well, we need to get a set list here because, we're not going to, we have the first 2 years set list and now we have to look at it. Obviously you're going to do China Grove, you're going to do Long Train Running, you're going to do What a Fool Believes. But, some of the, there's songs that we can pull out like Eyes of Silver and Neil's Fandango and From Captain and Me, there's Natural Thing and Ukiah. These are, songs the fans would know. I'm not going to do too many of them, but we got to throw a few in. We can't just do the same set list.
But if you get a true hard Doobie Brothers fan, they appreciate that stuff. And, I love when we get to see some of the acts like your act where they play some of those, call them the B-sides or call them whatever you call them. It's neat seeing. Of course, you have to play all the hits, and we understand that. Is there any songs that you love to play that come to the top of your list that you're like, I just love playing this. I never get sick of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, the song Take Me in Your Arms?
Yeah.
Just because of the energy that the song, and we usually do it early on in the evening, so, it's like the fourth or fifth song. And if they're not going by then, they're going to get going after that.
Of course. That's a great song.
Pounds. The energy is just there with that. And that kind of gets us all, not that we need it, but, that song to me is like the one of my favorites to do for sure.
And is there a song that you guys usually close out with, like that just always is the closer? You know how the band's
I really shouldn't give this away because people come see it. Now,
that's true. But there is. We'll just say there is a song.
We do listen to the music much the way they do it now live, which we start with an a cappella chorus because we do have 6 singers and we have pretty good harmonies, if I say so myself. So, that intro to listen to them, whoa, whoa, that whole thing. And then Mike, the sax player, will come out and he'll get everybody. And Jim, the drummer, actually, will come out with a wireless because the drums aren't.
Oh, that's awesome.
Then. And, get everybody standing up and, singing along. And we do a couple of a cappella choruses with them later in the, where the crowd can sing and so forth.
Sure.
So that's the big finish.
What about the because to me the Doobie Brothers are, I believe, from vocals to music are challenging to get done, to play. What do you find the most challenging song to play live?
Geez, I don't want to say they're all easy because they're not.
Yeah, they're not easy. Let's not say that.
There's no song that I look down and I think, the Michael McDonald stuff, Minute by Minute, Real Love,
sure.
The Doobies' Real Love song.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because a lot of the chords are jazz-oriented chords. And, he wrote everything on the keyboard. So to translate it, to what I'm going to do on the guitar.
It's a departure. Yeah.
I have to. So it's challenging in a way. Or at least it was when we were first putting it out there, and vocally, I think people talk about harmony bands. They'll talk about the Eagles. They'll talk about CSN. You never hear the Doobie Brothers mentioned, but every song and every song in our set has some sort of harmonies, some more than others. We started doing a song, and I'm not sure if we're doing this time around. I keep forgetting, the Michael McDonald. Which
sure,
I
love that song.
It's one of the few songs. In fact, we said it after. We said, there's no harmony in this song. It's a unison part,
right?
But it's not harmony. And it was the first song that we did in this configuration as the Doobie Others that have no harmonies whatsoever. I mean, Jesus Is Just All Right. Big harmony song. Which I love doing. And, we're all singing. Again, we have 7 guys, 6 of us sing. So, it's 3-part harmony, but each part's doubled. So it's really strong,
and I love that. That's the thing I love about the Doobies, not only the music and the songwriting, but the vocals. Yeah. They're crazy great, and I just love it. And in today's music, you don't get to see that, in my opinion. That's gone. Yeah. Maybe there's a couple acts here and there, but honestly,
none that I've heard.
I say this to Rachel all the time. It's just like, just the appreciation for that kind of stuff. Or you go see Chicago with the horns or anything of that kind of stuff. It's just incredible. What I wanted to swing back real quick to the cruise ship in itself. It is a cruise
podcast after all.
It is. What did you think of the cruise ship food, the bars, the drinks? God. What quality wise? Tell me about that.
They had everything, and everything was top notch. I was so impressed. Again, first time cruiser. And,
sure.
I have a thing about Indian food. I love Indian food. And there was a whole, section that was just Indian food. I'm like, oh my God, and the only thing I had to consider was that, I love spicy food, but I don't like to have it when I'm singing.
Of course.
On Tuesday, you got to think about that. When we were off, we didn't have any gig to play. I was, chicken vindaloo, and I was
chowing down on the Indian food, right?
Doing it up, I was.
And how about the bars? Because cruise ships have tons of bars.
I can't remember how many there were. It seemed like every time you turned around, you bumped into a bar. So
exactly, and that must have been cool. Yeah. And I would imagine with you guys, it was just a la carte, do whatever you want.
Well, the booze was not, by the way. The booze you had to get a package.
Okay, gotcha.
But you could split a package amongst several of you,
right?
So it wasn't that bad. Same thing with the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi didn't come for free, but you know what? Who needs Wi-Fi? It was a welcome relief to not have to worry about what was going on in the mainland.
You're not tied to your phone or your computer or anything like that.
And I discovered something. I discovered that your Google Maps works through GPS, not through Wi-Fi, because that was the only thing I could look and see where the boat was. And that was kind of cool. That was sort of cool. Say, oh, look, we're, right off the coast of Curacao. It's Cuba. I hope he doesn't make a full turn.
And speaking of which, since you were first time cruiser, what was your favorite port of the? I
didn't get only Eddie.
You didn't get off at all.
Remember, we flew to Aruba before we even got on the boat, and we spent the night in, went out to dinner in Aruba and spent the night.
What did you think of Aruba in the short time you were there?
The hotel was amazing. We had a beautiful, again, it was double occupancy, but, we had a beautiful balcony overlooking, and you could, see out as far as the eye could see out onto the wall. The ocean. And, we went out to eat, and then stayed over. The next morning, they bussed us. And, for us, a lot of times we'll play a gig, let's say in New Jersey, which is, maybe an hour and a half away. We have a van, of course, for our gear. And, so some of us will ride in the van. The other guys will ride in a car, in a minivan, if you want to call it that. And, we drive. So at this time, we were pampered just as if we were the Doobie Brothers,
Right.
From the time we got off the plane in Aruba, when we arrived, the signs, Doobie Others, Fireful. We shared a bus.
That's awesome.
I just, again, coming from my perspective, it was amazing. And Aruba was terrific. And then the next morning they bussed us out to the dock, and we saw the ship for the first time. And of course, there's the whole passport and a lot of actually
just to get on.
Yeah, they still wanted the passport, even though we were already in Aruba. But whatever. But the whole security thing that you have to go through. But then once you get on the boat and you get settled in your room, the whole experience was fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, so the boat didn't really stop at any islands. It was literally a music festival.
Aruba,
I think it did.
It
site. Did stop.
Remember, it came from Miami. With the first group of artists, music.
So if people that were on the cruise could get off in Aruba and do
so now they can get off and do whatever you do in Aruba.
Right.
Which they could do that. They get back on the boat at whatever the scheduled time is, and then we the boat leaves Aruba Sunday morning with the new crew of musicians, or Sunday afternoon, whatever the hell it was.
Sure.
Again, I wasn't really on it to go excursioning. Is that the word? So,
and it was your first cruise, so it's all new. You're taking everything in, but maybe next time around you'll know the port stops, and you go, you know what? I'm going to go check this out.
It's like anything else. The more experience you have, sure, of course.
I think you guys are going to get the next one. I'll vote you guys in. Well, if there's a voting process.
We received the offer. It was like last August or September. So there's still hope. That will get
I think
again.
What it seems like. And it seems like they had a really good lineup. So I would think if it was a successful cruise and they got great feedback, they probably have you back.
And they do ask feedback from the guests as to who they would want to see back. So, without shamelessly, saying it, hey, please vote. Thanks, guys. Please vote for us for next year. I seem a little crass to do that. But, later on, talking to the people, hey, bring us back next year. Will you say you want us back next year?
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I think, listen, hopefully they'll do these over and over and over, and you'll get more and more of them. And they might even, from our studying of all these cruises, there's becoming more and more, whether it's a 70s cruise, there could be something called the rock cruise or whatever.
Yeah, they have it for every decade. I believe there's an 80s, there's a disco cruise. I was talking to some of the people on our cruise that was saying, we're going on the disco cruise, which I guess is also a 70s cruise if you think about it. But, obviously the bands are disco bands, and it's more geared towards people that, want to dance to disco.
Of course, yeah.
So, they have that. All these themed cruises, like you said.
The crazy ones for us, like I mentioned at the beginning of when we started to talk, literally they have, and I wasn't kidding, a cat lovers cruise.
That's amazing.
And in my brain, I'm trying to think, okay, how do they keep? What is that?
Yeah,
you're not allowed to bring your cat.
I was just going to say, can you bring?
Yeah, no, you can't bring your cat. You can't
bring your animals. So it must be just all about the love of cats and that kind of pet. And maybe they have artists that come on board, or I have to dive a little bit deeper. When I saw it, I was like, listen, I'm a musician. I'm going to stick with what I know. But even just like they have, the Comic-Con cruises where they invite all the, comic book people that love that kind of stuff. But they're just now, I think this is a thing, sort of like tribute bands that have taken off. Now they found these themed cruises that have taken off, so they're going to offer more and more of them. So it's interesting to me. But I'd like to find out, can you tell us a little bit about what the band has coming up if you want to promote any shows? I know the one show, but anything, or if not, where they can find you guys. We're in Annapolis
and Bayonne, New Jersey, two nights in July. Obviously, this is going to be after.
Aired after, we get
a lot of gigs in Florida because,
the
Doobies were big in the 70s. And
absolutely.
A lot of the fans now are retired, and that's a big, retiree location. So
it is.
We
do a lot of work back and forth from Florida, so we're going to have to check out the schedule. I want to come meet you guys and hear you play,
which is kind of north near Gainesville, on in November. I don't know the exact date. It's on our website.
Yeah, no, we'll put a link to your website, and I'm sure everybody can check that out.
And also, I think right after that, we're in Texas, Spring, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston.
Are you excited for that?
Sure. We've never been to Texas. We've been to California. We were in Utah last year, which, by the way, was amazing. It wasn't Red Rocks, which I know is Colorado, but it was like a Red Rocks outdoor amphitheater with, behind us was this, it looked just like Red Rocks. Maybe on a slightly smaller scale. It was an amazing venue. But we, California, Utah, a lot of Wisconsin. God bless Wisconsin. We've got a lot of Doobie Brothers fans in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Illinois. We get around, which is something I never, again, you start this band and all of a sudden now we're like traveling more than I ever expected to. And, listen, I come from, local bars and clubs like that. Now all of a sudden
who would ever
hospitality? You got green rooms, you got dressing rooms.
It's crazy. Listen,
I wish I was doing this when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, you know what? I said the same thing. I'm like, I should have thought of this way earlier because I just saw one of the bands. Literally, they blew up so big. They literally have a tour bus now, and they have crew. Right. And I'm just like, they're playing all over the world, and it's just crazy.
If we could afford, if we could cut in a crew, that would be wonderful. We're not quite at that stage yet. And that, let's face it, that's, I've always said, no matter where you're playing, the work is load in, load out. The playing is,
absolutely.
Fun. That's, I love doing that. So if was ever in a situation where we could cut in a road crew, that takes away the work aspect. Then the whole thing is fun. And then that would be
a different level. Yeah.
That's the hope.
You know what?
But you never know.
Listen, you never know. As the band grows, you never know. You might get a call from Michael McDonald that wants to sponsor the band. I go, I love the band. I'm going to sponsor you. And then it just blows out of the water.
Well, right now, he doesn't need us because, like I said, they're touring and very successful. They're here in New York in a few weeks, in August, early August at the Garden.
Do you get to go check them out, by the way? Have you seen them live lately?
I might. It's at Madison Square Garden. And they're playing with Steve Winwood. Yeah. So certainly, that is something I'm concerned. I'm looking at the secondary market now for tickets, and I'm waiting to, when to press the button.
Tickets are expensive anymore.
I'd like to think they would invite us, give us comps. We do so much for them.
Why not?
Come on, guys.
Listen, we have to. We're going to have to make some calls. Rachel, get on those calls for them.
You have any contacts with them? Get on the case, Rachel. Let's go.
But no, that's great. We'll definitely post all this stuff. Is there any stuff that you want to add? that maybe the people watching this would love to know, either about the cruise or the band?
Well, the band, I think we pretty much covered. We'll play 12 to 15 gigs a year. We're obviously also playing locally. I do a lot of solo, acoustic stuff, restaurants and stuff like that. That.
Great. And can they find that stuff on the website? Is there do you put that on your social or
website?
Facebook?
We're on Facebook. My name, Pat Montefusco.
Hey, you got it right.
Yeah, look at that.
Better than me.
But yeah, of course, I'm on Facebook. I also, me and Eddie, who's also in the Doobie Band, we go out as a duo called Them Again, which is one word, THEM, uppercase AGAIN. Okay.
Okay, great.
Just spell the name right. And we go out as a duo, and we use, I use vocal harmonizer, a looper, beat buddy pedal. He uses a harmonizer from my guitar. So we, if you check us out on Facebook, Them Again, and also on YouTube, you'll find we sound like a band. We've got drums, we've got bass, we've got guitar.
Yeah, I love seeing those duos.
Such as it is for me. But, listen, I can play solo once in a while using the looper. So there's that whole thing. Jim, the drummer, plays in a band called Go Rogue, which is more to his thing now because he's kind of like more into the dance, the newer stuff,
right.
Dua Lipa, and Ed Sheeran, plus classic. They play pretty much everything. Our sax player plays in a Stones tribute called Street Fighter.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're we all have our things going on.
That's great. All right. Well, you know what? We're gonna list all of them at the bottom of our interview, and we'll make sure everybody can find you guys online.
Well, and obviously the Doobie Others have a pretty good YouTube presence. In fact, I don't know what's happening, but we're getting a lot of subscribers lately. Getting 2 or 3 every day.
Because you're getting popular.
Nice.
I don't know. Most of them look like they're from overseas, so I'm wondering, like, okay, do I have to worry about this? Right away you start. Right away you can't help it. Anything that has to do with the internet now, you can't help but be suspicious. Because you hear stories, but I don't think there's any harm.
Unless you get that call.
To subscribe.
Hey, listen.
I don't think you can do anything, untoward. By
listen, you might get that call to do a 70s rock cruise in the UK.
You never know. Or some.
And they do have those. Like so Thailand, you really,
someplace.
Yeah.
Well.
Absolutely.
But we're getting a lot of new subscribers on the Doobie Others page, and we have a fair amount of videos up on there. Obviously, we have our demo videos from day one.
Sure.
Which, like I said, I look at them now and they seem kind of quaint to me. We're so much better. But we have those, and we got some live videos. We recently played in Tennessee at a place called The Shed, which is it's like a biker. It's a Harley dealer, and adjacent to the dealer, they have a concert venue. And of course, a big bar restaurant area, and you can go buy a motorcycle, have dinner, and go see a band. I mean, it's you can't lose.
That's pretty cool.
And we just played there, and they had incredible crew as far as recording it sound wise. So we put a couple of those videos up on the YouTube page, because a lot of the videos we have are just like cell phone videos and stuff like that. And sometimes they leave a little bit to be desired. I get a kick out of people that do cell phone videos and put it on Facebook, and they're singing along. They're singing, and they're out of key, and I'm like, well, thanks, but we can't do anything with
can't
this.
Use that.
Can't use that. Exactly. So.
No, I get it. We've seen a ton of those videos, but no, this has been amazing. Pat, I wanted to thank you so much for joining us today.
Well,
you're just like an unbelievable pleasure to have on the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm waiting for you to come, to different areas that we travel to, and I'm going to follow you all around because I'm a huge Doobie Brothers fan. Rachel is as well. We've seen the Doobies many of times, and we have some history with the Doobies, but we appreciate your band and what you bring to the table, and the fact that you do these theme cruises are just amazing. I'm looking forward to you getting that next theme cruise. I think
all things considered, we'll be back on the cruise.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Rachel, anything you have to add?
No, this has been great, and definitely we'd love to have you back and find out more adventures, more venues that you're playing. So yeah, we gotta check up on you.
Okay, well,
but we're definitely gonna see one of your shows, because you can tell the amount of time and effort you put into replicating the sound, getting the vocals just right. I mean, that's what really sets apart the A-game tribute bands from the others. Right.
Definitely. We're not just showing up and like a cover band would and just playing. We try to sound true to. Thank you for that. Yes, because we do.
No. Well, listen, if you're watching this, go check out the Doobie Others band. They're amazing. And Pat, thanks a lot. And hang out there for a second.
Okay, sure. And thank you guys, and thanks everybody.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. That was a great episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Great guests. We're super excited. Each week we're going to bring you a new interview with cruise staff featuring entertainers, cruise chefs, cruise directors, bartenders, whoever we can find, as well as cruisers themselves to tell their individual stories. And we're going to have special guest celebrities. Theme cruises are super big, so we're going to be interviewing a bunch of people. But Rachel, tell them what they need to do to be notified each week.
What do you mean do? They should have did. So if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any future episodes. And if you want to watch some of the previous episodes, the best place to do that is our website. And that is cruiseshipexplorers.com.
Okay, everybody, you heard it, cruiseshipexplorers.com. Join us each week. We're super excited. Till the next time, see you then.